Before the break, we shared the bad news that China is using our money to build their warfighting capabilities. In some ways, they've passed us, and we've been too blind to notice. But is it too late? No, but we must act quickly. I'm going to share with you 6 things that we should do at the national and international level, and 4 things we should do at the individual level. If we work together, we can make a difference. At the national level, here are the 6 things. 1, we must put a brake on funding China. Full stop. My friend, Roger Robinson, we've had him in the Economic Room numerous times. He believes that if we stop funding China, it would rattle the shaky Chinese economy, and that could win the war by itself. Now, he's got some credibility. Roger directed Reagan's economic warfare that brought down the Soviet Union. This means we have to block the thrift savings plan from investing in China, just like the Trump team did and the Biden team reversed. This means congressional action. This means corporate action. It will require private meetings to pressure and influence. Stop funding China. Larry Fink at BlackRock says, I want to put more money in China. We need to have a private conversation and ask him not to. Now, on February 9th, according to the New York Times, the Biden administration did have plans to curb investments into China. And yet, there are later reports, here's one in Politico, that showed that the Biden administration is scaling back on any plans to reduce investments in China. That's ridiculous. What happened? Well, the Chinese, did they get to him? Bottom line is we must defund China. It's a huge mistake to scale back on what he originally planned. We must sharply curtail and even pull back investments wherever possible. Step number 2. We need to root out, expose, and eliminate Chinese infiltration. We got to listen to Peter Schweitzer. If our politicians are compromised, they have to go. This includes President Biden. Congress must look closely at the Hunter Biden laptop because it certainly appears that the family has been compromised by Chinese money. We have to shut down any and all Chinese influence, particularly at the Confucius Institutes on college campuses or any equivalent. I know they've rebranded them, they've renamed them. And we've got to eliminate Chinese-funded research at American institutions. They've been taking our money, putting it back into our institutions. Number 3, we need to demand reparations for China for the way they handled the COVID pandemic. Because the virus leaked from a Wuhan lab, which they likely funded, we should get the world to demand that China cover the costs. Now, of course, China's not going to pay, but at least taking this step will give us the moral courage to push back elsewhere. And in conjunction with steps 2 and 3, we must root out Chinese influence in international organizations like the World Health Organization. That's step number 4. It's insane that we would give away our sovereignty to a corrupt group or any foreign group for that matter. America is a separate sovereign nation. Number 5, because we know the Chinese plan to attack the dollar, we must strengthen the dollar. This means developing proper energy policies. We can no longer afford the pie-in-the-sky green energy policies that fund Chinese solar and wind companies. Instead, we need to build American pipelines and develop our internal energy and export to our allies as they need it. In addition, we need to draft a sensible budget and stick to it. The idea of forgiving hundreds of billions in student loans while increasing transfer payments and offering free money, that's insane when we have $32 trillion in federal debt. We need growth policies while restricting federal spending. Number 6, finally, we need to follow the advice of that great Latin phrase, sivi pacem para bellum. Roughly translated, it means if you seek peace, prepare for war. This means we must build up our own defenses. We must review our supply chains for industry and replace Chinese components. That's not going to be easy, but it is necessary. Remember, most of our medicine is now made overseas, and we don't manufacture semiconductors, and we need rare earth minerals. We're not on a war footing. China is. We've got to get on a war footing and start immediately acting like we're at war and building up those capabilities. And we've got to begin a crash program to prepare, protecting our electric grid from EMP or cyber attacks. Overall, this is going to be a huge undertaking, and we haven't much time. But if China sees our resolve, we may actually avert war rather than causing it. Remember peace through strength? It's time for that again.